Welcome to this video. For us humans to find our way out of the actual storm and avoid extinction, we will have to understand who and what we are, at least the DNA we carry. There is one important event and period that affects everything, and that consensus does not recognize. Consequently, we will not understand who and what we are, and also not our DNA. Consequently, we risk not finding our way out of the greater storm we have gotten in already a long time ago, and that we are quickly aggravating more recently, since the early 1990s. The hybrid era. Their important period runs from 19,000 years BP to 2,500 years BP, until before the start of the expanding modern but classical cultures, like the Greek, Egypt and Roman empires. Altogether, it is a 16,500-year period with deliberate and conscient massive soil destruction, massive climate destruction, as well as massive extinction of biodiversity. These conclusions are based on clear facts which are all, as much as possible, were deliberately wiped out of history, since or before the year 0, or 2000 years BP. In this period, and because of all this destruction, the ocean level rose 120 meters globally, and this rising will heavily impact the whole period and world. It will flood the most strategic and fertile and productive parts of all continents of the world. This period contains two well-known, but very poorly understood collapses. 01, the Younger Dryas collapse, 12,800 years BP, and 02, the Late Bronze Age collapse, 3,100 years BP. These collapses, as well as the whole period, are poorly understood because consensus does not understand or verifies this total event and turnover of the world as one period of massive population turnover and destruction of all that was. View of JM, the author of this video. The view of the author of this video is not much in line with the view of consensus. The Late Bronze Age collapse is strongly related to, and in fact a consequence, or continuation of the Younger Dryas event. As such, it turns into a much better understood event, even when it is almost 10,000 years later, and in a smaller part of the region affected before during the Younger Dryas event. The Late Bronze Age collapse indeed seems to happen in a much smaller region. For me, this smaller region is very strategic, resisting bastions. In this region the hybrids are taking on, or rather turning over, and execute that turning over in a very brutal, radical, inhuman fashion, the leftover, or still resisting, bastions, that were not yet resolved during the first Younger Dryas event, nor in the long period following that first event. The face of the earth is definitively changed, and so is the climate. All people and cultures that were before are now dead or inexistent. All males, elderly and children of the former human era are eliminated, most probably brutally killed. All females of the former human era are absorbed into the hybrids. From that point on, the hybrids dominate and hold elite positions. All hybrids are the descendants of haplogroup R1 and R1 subhaplogroups, descendants that underwent a mutation, in my opinion mostly the result of additional hybridizations. The Sahara turns desert, and the most fertile areas, including the Fertile Crescent, turn arid. Amongst all, what was, and now is eradicated, were the humans. The humans were composed of Amerinds, but also earlier hybrids, probably genetically still closer to the Amerinds. These earlier hybrids had still much more stable genomes. These earlier hybrids could have included left-over Neanderthal and Denisovans, or, to them, alikes. These earlier hybrids and Neanderthal and Denisovans, or, to them, alikes, when compared with some newer hybrids, like the R1 descendants or mutations, easily can be interpreted as giants, because certain earlier hybrids presented larger, but not unexpected, statues, heads, skulls and brains. These turnover events and collapses we are talking about took place during the Younger Dryas and Late Bronze Age. The whole period, that includes the Younger Dryas, experiences a series of abnormal climate events that supposedly includes one supposed short ice age. The employment in mass of hybrids was seen by the power, Inca-like South and Central American Imperium, that organized the whole event and period, because it was seen by them as necessary to succeed the total and global population turnover event, including of the last bastions. The last bastions had to be exterminated as well in extremis, because in the region affected by the Late Bronze Age collapse was an important presence of strong groups and cultures, of the human era, etc., that had united and worked together, and still defended against the invading hybrids, in both naturally reinforced locations and heavily walled cities, and sometimes a combination. Even while these bastions are spread over and around the Mediterranean, and distant from one another, there is evidence they kept each other updated about the power of the hybrids, and the diseases that were caused by the conflict and the hybrids. The majority of the later, at the end around 4,000 years BP, in Eurasia employed hybrids gathered, or was formed, and developed in the Americas and mainly in North America, before migrating in mass by boat, mainly to those parts of Eurasia that could be reached most readily by their boats, Karnak on the Atlantic facade amongst others. This is the end of this video, thanks for watching. In some of the next videos we will illustrate and argue what this teaches us about getting out of the actual, irreversible storm and threat of extinction we got ourselves in. Please give us a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Giving a thumbs up is also a way to know if you already assisted a certain video or not. I hope to see you in our next video.